it turns out that I'm not a CIA operative and I'm just a dad that's trying to help the people that were there? Is there a reason that that couldn't be possible? Why is that so difficult for you to come to terms with?
Because
maybe I'm just an altruistic guy.
You're not trying to help. I'm sorry? You're not trying to help.
What makes you say that?
Because you're taking a theory that has no substance to it, and you know there's no substance to it. You're just pulling these side things to try and make it sound like there's something there, and you're pushing.
Why?
That's disinformation.
Why am I doing that?
When you've got a person who repeatedly praises the FBI, your video said October 1st was the FBI's finest hour, and how proud you are of them, because they exfiltrated a prince in a bunch of Maverick helicopters. Bull
Sounds
crap.
like you've watched a lot more of my stuff than you admitted to, actually. Thank you.
Yeah. Today I did watch some stuff so I could know what I'm talking about for this interview. You praise the Mossad, so you've got this kind of fanboy.
No, I never praised the Mossad.
All right, let me get the quote.
Jake, if you've just watched
this, let me find the quote here so we can read about the Mossad.
All right, Jason, it doesn't really sound like there's a lot I'm going to be able to contribute to this conversation, because I can't really
Wait. Let me try and rein it back in here, Jake, and John, because listen, whether he praised the Mossad or didn't praise the Mossad, that doesn't specifically have relevance on evidence that's been presented. You may think the evidence isn't sufficient to prove the theory. That's reasonable, but
it actually is very relevant, because if we do have an intelligence operation like we had with 9/11, where you've got multiple intelligence agencies purposely spreading disinformation, and then we've got somebody pushing a theory here that is completely bogus while praising the very agencies that are likely involved in it, in carrying it out, yes, that is relevant.
Okay, can I just say one thing? Hang on, stop.
Sure.
Jake, when you and I first came to know each other, after you had done a video about George Webb praised the Mossad all the time, but you made a video that was pretty favorable about George. And I did not intend to bring this up, and I'm not bringing this up to disparage you. I'm bringing this up in the hope that you will relax just a little bit so we can allow John to speak. Because again, if what you're saying is correct and you can disprove what John is saying, I don't know.
I've already disproven it. And I'll be publishing the screenshots to go along with what I'm saying. And I'm waiting for an official statement that the Saudi embassy is going to be putting out, or at least they told me they're going to put it out. I don't know if they will or not.
That would be interesting information that I think would cause John, if he is in fact a reasonable investigator, which I currently believe him to be, and that doesn't mean that I couldn't be wrong. But
an investigator collects facts. There are no facts to back up the idea that Saudi Arabia took a bunch of Boeing helicopters and murdered people in Las Vegas. There is nothing to support that, Jason.
What do you say to that, John?
Like I've been trying to say for the last 30 minutes, then let's set that aside and let's just look at the facts.
Okay.
Because again, this is about evidence, not proof. Okay? So evidence, the evidence led us to the hypothesis, and I think the reason we got off on the wrong track here is we're starting at the end. We're starting at a conclusion that we came to after weeks and weeks and weeks of research, right? At the beginning, the Saudis didn't even enter into it at the beginning for us.
Right.
So all we did was look at evidence, and the evidence that we were digging into was different evidence than what Jake was digging into. The evidence that we dug into, if you can bring up tall ace of spades, rare.
Yep.
And let's just look at the first 9 seconds of that video. Because while Jake is challenging us on facts and all that, let's just go straight to the evidence. Let's look at the facts.
Okay. I've got the video.
So in the first 9 seconds, before the first chord of the song.
Okay, hang on. You guys aren't going to be able to hear it, but Jake, can you see the video on the screen share there, Jake?
I think so.
Okay.
Nothing's moving yet, but I think I can
I'm going to run
see
it right now. Okay. So that's the first 9 seconds. It was just played.
Okay. We put all the video through an audio spectrum analyzer.
Who is we? If you're on an island in Thailand, who is this team you've got?
I work with a couple of other people who help me with this.
On the internet.
It's immaterial, Jake. It's immaterial. What
No,
matters?
it's very material to my,
Let's
it's very
address the
material to my
question.
purpose being
Hang
on this show.
Let's address the
So
question.
it's my father and my brother. Okay.
Okay,
My
so all
father
along,
and my
I
brother.
am Cullen is you, your dad, and your brother. That's
There
your
you go.
team. Thank
Are you happy?
All right,
Okay.
yeah, I'm very happy. I'm getting a lot out of you
Okay.
tonight.
All right, let's move on. In the first 9 seconds, I'm trying to focus on the facts and the evidence, okay? In the first 9 seconds, we put this through an audio waveform visualizer that allows us to see the audio, allows us to see the peaks, see the troughs, see the shapes of the audio. In the first 9 seconds, it was all there. Everything, we were stunned. Everything that tipped us off as to what was going on happens in the first 9 seconds.
Well, and
And
I
it was
can
in the
hear,
audio.
I can hear.
It was in the audio.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It might be difficult for people to hear in the broadcast, but I can hear a consistent pattern that could be attributed to a helicopter, but it's, we don't know how it got
But it's
there.
not. I'll tell you it's not. It's not a
Yeah.
helicopter.
Yeah.
You're not, there is a helicopter, and we see it on the waveform, but you're not hearing that. You're hearing gunfire. In the first 9 seconds of that video, we count 78 rounds of fully automatic gunfire, 10 round per second gunfire in the first 9 seconds. Now, the gunfire is not aimed towards the crowd. They're shooting somewhere else,
Right.
so we don't hear the that high-pitched aspect, the crack part of the crack thump. We don't hear that because the bullets aren't coming near the microphone. But we see the peaks on the waveform analyzer. And if anybody who's listening wants to do this themselves and see what we're talking about, the software that we use is called Twisted Wave, and you can download Twisted Wave or Twisted Wave Lite.
Right.
And then you open up Tall Ace of Spades Rare, and now you can see the audio as the video is playing. And in these first 9 seconds before the chord, we see 78 peaks. And it's very clear what it is because we've got 1,100 other examples of it throughout the attack. Right? So you see the gunfire later, and you see the shape of the waveform. Here, you see the same exact shape, just at a lower amplitude.
That's interesting.
Okay? So
People
then
in the
when we-
comments, John, just to fill you in, people in the comments are now doubting that you would have the tools to analyze this audio. I would just remind people this is software.
I just told you what
downloaded
software.
on a Mac.
Yeah, it's called
Exactly.
Twisted Wave. Right, just go get Twisted Wave software,
I'm
and
gonna
you can
bring
see
up
what I'm talking. You can
Adobe
see what I'm talking about.
Audition
And if you look
here.
at our
We'll see it.
older videos, and we put this in the video, so you can
Right.
see the audio waveforms. Okay.
Right.
One of the videos that we posted has to do with when the gunshots do ring out. If you go to 3 minutes and 12 seconds into this video, you're going to hear the first shot at 3:12.
Okay, I'm just
Then
going
it
to cue
at,
up.
and then you'll hear another shot at 3:17, and you'll hear another shot at 3:19. If you
I
want
feel
to play
like
that
we're
for the
running
others.
out the clock here. What's the?
This is evidence, Jake.
the
This is
point?
called evidence. This is
Evidence
evidence.
of what?
2 shooters.
Let's get to the point.
Okay,
Two
hang on.
shooters.
I'm running the video.
Okay, well, Jason, I propose that since I have all along said that there's multiple shooters, and your other guest is saying there's multiple shooters, everybody in the audience agrees there were multiple shooters. Let's get on to another topic.
Okay.
Eric.
All right,
I mean,
so the
you got
next-
me on the show for a reason, and I'd like to talk about this John Cullen stuff.
I'd like to talk about Las Vegas and what happened outdoors and the evidence.
No,
So-
I don't really want to hear from somebody who pushes crackpot theories to take the investigation off the rails and get people, as many as possible, believing something as absurd as a bunch of helicopters coming in from the Saudi Arabian National Guard.
So even
trying
though
to-
I keep telling you to set that aside, I keep saying set that aside, Jake. You refuse to do it.
No,
Why is that? Why is that?
It calls everything that you're saying into question. You're dodging. You're dodging.
No, I'm not, Jake. I'm simply trying to focus on the evidence and how we got to it's the Saudis. I'm trying to show you, okay?
But if you've already established established that it's not the Saudis, then I don't want to take an hour to review your evidence on how you came to that incorrect conclusion.
All right. So if you want to keep interrupting, I won't be able to share any of the evidence with you.
I'm not too worried about it, to be honest, because you're interrupting my investigation. You're interrupting the investigations of every honest American and every honest person around the world, because we've got people all over the world who are trying to do the best to get to the truth, and you're out there pushing this garbage and
Why?
then
What's my motivation?
Insulting and attacking everybody. Why?
No, I'm not attacking.
I'm not going to read your mind.
Okay, hang on.
Jake, I'm not attacking
Jake has established, Jake, hang on, guys. Jake has established, John, that he feels your motivation for doing this is that he believes you to be an intelligence operative trying to run a disinfo operation to throw off the investigation. Now, what I've brought up right here, Jake, what I brought up right here is an audio waveform analysis in Adobe Audition. It's part of the suite of tools that I use to edit videos.
I'm not. I've got over 110 videos of the Vegas investigation. That's not why I'm on the show tonight, Jason. You called me 4 different times. I declined the invitation 3 times before you finally had me on.
Let me just correct that. I don't know. Hang on.
I'll get the phone call. I'll get it here. I am here because I am here to expose.
Hang on. It's my show. Let me speak, Jake. I do not believe I called you 4 times and said, come on and be with John Cullen, and you refused. I believe I've called you many times and you're busy and you don't always get back to me. And I've called you many, many times and said, let's do another show. And I have suggested.
Did I tell you that I didn't want to come on and have a debate?
First, you told me exactly what you.
Am I correct about that, Jason?
Exactly what you.
So now you've got
Can I finish?
Here, and you're not letting me talk about what the purpose is. We're back onto all this other stuff that everyone already knows about Vegas.
Jake, I called you on the show because I felt that both you and John were doing good work in this investigation. And you raised the point that
Jason, you're
not letting me finish, and that's annoying.
That you wanted to fight.
Hang on. If we're going to talk, you got to let me talk. You can't keep talking over me, or we're going to just have to end the show. I called you on the show because I had started talking with John after I saw his video where he showed an interview with the general who talked about the Saudi Arabian Air National Guard. And John and Shepard and a couple of other people had shown some new evidence that caused me to believe that maybe there were, in fact, helicopters utilized. Specifically, autopsy evidence that we hadn't seen before, the angles that bullets were entering people. I found that interesting, compelling new information. I have tremendous respect for you. You and I did work together on the ground. You were with me when I went to Maverick and we went in there and spoke to Brian.
I'm here to talk about John Cullen, and I've got information. If you're not going to let us talk about it, Jason, then I'll just put it out in my own video.
Let's hear your information.
Tell us real quick, Cullen, why the name John Cullen and J. Edgar Hoover, Johnny Hoover? Why those names?
Well, John Cullen, because when I realized what I saw on October the 8th was the day that I realized that there's a helicopter, and the helicopter is potentially shooting people. I realized this on the 8th. On the 9th, I realized that there was a second helicopter, and on the 10th, I saw the third. And I realized if I'm going to bring this information forward, I will be treated like a pariah, as you are treating me. That I'll be questioned, I'll be doubted. Who is this guy? How do you know? Where did you come from? And I knew that this would happen. Back in the 1940s, a Nazi submarine approached the coast of Long Island, near Montauk and Amagansett. And a young Coast Guard seaman named John Cullen spots the Nazi submarine and interrupts them and says, "What are you guys doing?" They attempt to bribe him, but he's outnumbered. He goes to report this, and he's questioned. They ask him, like, how do you know it's a Nazi submarine? Have you ever met Nazis before? How would you know a Nazi? How do you know it's a submarine? Did you ever build submarines before? and he's treated as a pariah, much as you're treating me. I knew this would happen, and so, ultimately, John Cullen is vindicated. The Nazis are caught in Chicago. And so I named this, originally the channel was called John Cullen, but YouTube shut it down. And the reason YouTube shut it down was because I was frantically posting links and comments because I thought it was ISIS in the first week or two. And I thought they were going to attack the World Series. So I was frantic. I was scared. I thought the World Series was in jeopardy. It was only weeks after this attack, and it was going to be played outdoors in Dodger Stadium. And I'm thinking, is this a dry run for shooting 10,000 people? And that was my fear. And Jake, I think you have kids.
What does this have to do with John Cullen and J. Edgar Hoover? I'm not asking about World Series.
Because I just explained the John Cullen story. So the reason I named it John Cullen is because we felt this was a modern-day equivalent of we see Nazis. We see people killing our children. I see the shooters. I know where they are. And so I felt like John Cullen. I'm bringing forward information that's going to be questioned. It's going to be doubted.
Gotcha.
But I know the truth.
Exactly. All right.
And I know the truth.
Very good. Now let me tell you guys, the viewing audience, the truth about John Cullen. John Cullen was no hero. We just heard this guy in Thailand say, oh, well, I felt like John Cullen. That's probably right. Let me tell you the true story of John Cullen and J. Edgar Hoover and why he chose these names. Just like the John Killman, there's meaning. These people in intelligence agencies, they think we're stupid idiots. They think we're too dumb to understand. Problem is, I'm a history major, and I know who John Cullen is, and I'm going to tell you. At best, John Cullen was a bumbling fool. He was a teenager. Yes, he was in the Coast Guard, but he was a young guy. He bumbled his way into something that he clearly didn't understand. He goes out onto the beach. There's these Nazis coming on the beach, and he offers to give them a warm place to stay for the night. He didn't know these guys were Nazis. It was the head of this group that landed, a former U.S. Army officer named George Dosh. He is the hero here, not John Cullen. Dosh had lived in the United States for 19 years. He went home to Germany before World War II because his mother was there, his family was there, she was sick, so he went home there. While he was there, the Nazis tried to recruit him to be part of a saboteur team. They were going to blow up some American aluminum plants supplying weapons to the U.S. Army. So this plot was called Operation Pastorius. So they come in, they land, like you say. Dosh joins this group with the full intent to expose them to the U.S. authorities. So when the party landed on the beach, Dosh knew he had been ordered by the Nazis as part of this team, if you encounter any American servicemen, kill them. So here comes this teenager, John Cullen, who's standing there with no weapon in his hands. He didn't have a weapon. He's got nothing but a flashlight, telling these Nazis, hey, I'll give you shelter. Did Dosh kill him? No. What he did was he put a wad of cash into the boy's hand and told him to run. But before he sent him off, he grabbed the boy's flashlight, shined it in his own face, and said, remember my face for later on in Washington, D.C. The kid didn't understand. He ran off. Dosh was the guy here who was the hero, not John Cullen. But after reporting what happened, this Cullen kid goes back, tells what happens. They come back with the other servicemen, and they find, buried in the sand, a whole bunch of boxes of explosives that the Nazis had buried. Do you know how they found them? It's because the guy, Dosh, he stuck a shovel straight up in the ground as a marker so that the American servicemen would find it. All right? He then goes on, after the Nazis leave this area, Dosh
Jake, I'm sorry, Jake, I'm sorry, Jake, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Dosh then flips one of the, no, you're not going to interrupt. You're not going to interrupt.
I have to because it's irrelevant, Jake. Jake, I work for the CIA. Jake, I work for the CIA.
Yeah.
Jake,
CIA.
I work for the CIA. Okay.
Dosh,
are you happy? Are you happy?
Oh,
Jake,
no, we're getting warmer.
Jake,
wait. You notice as I'm trying to tell this story how he doesn't want it told because he doesn't want the connection between who John Cullen and J. Edgar Hoover
What
really
is the
are.
connection, Jake?
Dosh goes to the FBI to tell them the plot, to tell them what happened. The FBI, led by J. Edgar Hoover, takes this guy, this guy who has helped to expose the Nazi plot. They take him and they say, look, we're going to go get the Nazis based on all the information that he gives them. FBI director at the time, J. Edgar Hoover, has a different plan, though. What Hoover does is he takes this guy, this Dosh, who is trying to expose the truth. Dosh is trying to get the truth to the authorities for the sake of the American people, to preserve people. What happens is that J. Edgar Hoover, who is a notorious blackmailer, even FBI Director James Comey said last year, he talked about how Hoover had...
kind of the worst guy ever.
A horrible guy, had lots of blackmail on people and would use it against them. Yeah. Well, what Hoover does to this Dosh guy, this American who's trying to do the right thing, Hoover goes and says, here's how it's going to work. We're going to help you out, but to protect your family in Germany from the Nazis, we need you to cooperate with this deal where what you're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put you in prison. You're going to plead guilty with the understanding that in just a couple of months, we're going to release you. We'll get the president to pardon you. But once the guy ignorantly thinks, okay, sure, I'll do this, he goes in and J. Edgar Hoover then changes the whole thing. They set up this private military tribunal. They bring John Cullen in, this Navy kid who testifies, and as a result of that testimony, what ends up happening is this Dosh guy and the 7 other guys that were with him, they get sentenced to death. And President Roosevelt, and this is a matter of public record, in I forget the exact year, Hoover went, there's a public memo, Hoover wrote to the president about this whole thing, totally lying, saying that Dosh was one of these conspirators, all this stuff. Well, what happens is Roosevelt ends up learning that Hoover lied because Roosevelt's Attorney General, Biddle was his name, exposes Hoover for the crook that he was, and that Hoover was using this as a way to promote the FBI. He was trying to use this to say, look how good the FBI is, look how we catch the bad guys, when in fact that's not the case at all. Hoover covers it up, has this guy sentenced to death. Fortunately, the President of the United States at the time says, this is wrong. He pardons him, and the subsequent President Truman let Dosh out of prison. But this is a case where John Cullen, J. Edgar Hoover, this whole story, if you understand intelligence agencies, this is a classic operation. What these men did together was they took a real event and they flipped it around, they screwed the good guys, and they took credit for it. So when we've got someone like this saying, I am John Cullen, hashtag I'm John Cullen, I want everybody to share it, I'm John Cullen, I'm Hoover, it's a big joke, because that's exactly what they're doing. He's out there saying, this is the FBI's finest hour. Not my words, that's his words. When you praise the FBI for what they're doing in Vegas, when we know the FBI is complicit in what happened, I am John Cullen indeed.
John, what do you say about that? Pretty damning condemnation from Jake right there.
Yeah, I wish Jake had spent as much time watching the videos as he did researching John Cullen. I spent about 1 minute researching John Cullen, so this whole story is fascinating. Yeah, but it has nothing to do. But it has nothing. Yeah, Jake, it's great. But I don't know any of this. Yeah, it's a great coincidence, and it's a fascinating story. Obviously, it's a nom de plume. So if you want to get into, what is the meaning of J.K. Rowling's name and stuff, that's what we're talking about here. It's a nom de plume. It's irrelevant. I spent 60 seconds to look up who was the guy who saw the Nazis on the beach. I found the name. That was it. End of story. You're making a big deal out of nothing and reading things into something. It's just irrelevant. I'm talking about time codes.
If it's irrelevant, if you only put a couple seconds into figuring this out, why is it that you push in every video, every tweet, everything you do, hashtag I am John Cullen, I am this, I am that?
I don't know. Do you say you're black?
I mean, if you barely know anything about him, what's the big deal?
You don't say I'm Jake Morphonious, I'm Blackstone Intelligence. You don't tell everybody who you are?
I don't hashtag. No, because it's a
lot of
meme.
people do that. Jake,
yeah, so Jake,
reasonable defense.
if my hashtag is the reason you don't believe my evidence,
that's not what I said. That is not what I said.
All right, so why don't we look at the video? Why don't we look at the evidence? Why are you talking about stories that happened in 1940?
Because you're the one who makes the big issue out of it. Because you're
no, it's just a name, Jake. It's just a name.
Let me interject, gentlemen. Let me interject.
The significance of the story, the history behind it is meaningless, right? The fact that the very names Cullen and J. Edgar Hoover, out of the blue, just sheer coincidence, just happened to be the names of people involved in a very similar disinformation operation to what you were carrying out. I think that's not a coincidence. I think you're busted.
Okay. I'd like to talk about the evidence. If anybody wants to talk about the shooting in Las Vegas.
John, I think that the original intention of this call of bringing you guys together is not going to happen. So,
Jason, don't pull that with me. I told you this. We had this in private conversation. Don't pretend like you're bringing us on to be friends. No. You specifically
Jake,
said,
hang on now. I've let you speak a lot. Jake,
you said.
Don't make me turn you down, Jake. You're speaking over me.
I want people to hear what you told me on the phone.
I want people to hear what I told you on the phone from me, because as I recall, what I told you was, I've been speaking to John Cullen, and I think he's got compelling evidence. And you told me he was putting crappy comments into your videos. Let me finish, please, Jake. Can I finish? And then you talk? You said he was...
I'm going to interrupt you if you lie about what you told me. I told you that I took...
Do not accuse me of lying, Jake. Let me
lying,
speak.
Jason.
I'm lying? What did I lie about?
Is that you got me on to confront him. That's the very first thing. People can...
Will you let me finish what I'm saying before you accuse me of being a liar, Jake? Because now you're pissing me off. I called you. I said I've been speaking to John Cullen and he's got good information. You told me he's put crappy comments into your videos and he's argued with you and you think he's an agent. And I said, fine. If you think that, you come on and expose him. Okay? I then told John, Jake's got an issue with you because he said you've been confrontational and putting in crappy comments. But I'd like you guys to get together because I don't know what's true on either side. What did I lie about right now, Jake?
Well, if you mischaracterize it and say you didn't have any intention for there to be friction or sparks, I specifically told you.
Did I tell you that we should have a phone call beforehand, offline, so you guys can work out any friction? Did I offer you that?
The whole point of bringing two people on, everything you've... Listen, that's...
Just answer the question. Did I or did I not suggest that we have an offline call so you two could straighten out any misunderstandings before we did this? Did I? Do you recall?
I honestly, I remember you saying
something. So then do not come on this program and accuse me of lying. I'm going to tell you one other thing, Jake.
Okay? It's very curious.
Don't tell me you know.
The number of people that accuse you of being Mossad, I never gave stock to that. But the way that you have really tried to arrange to have me on with this guy and to defend what he's saying.
Jake, I'm trying to be an impartial moderator, and you are insulting me right now. So now you're accusing me of being Mossad? Is that it?
I'm saying I find it very curious,
Jay,
that instead of taking the side of the people that are telling the truth and doing real investigation, that you're sitting here standing in defense.
I am not standing in defense. You said you spoke to the Saudi Arabian embassy and had evidence the guy wasn't there, and I said that changes everything. Let me tell you something else, Jake. You made a video about George Webb and me. And you said something like Mossad is heavily involved in the investigation? That's bullshit, Jake. You have no evidence of that. And in fact, in that video, you made a material error that I consider questionable and amateurish. You said George Webb was holed up in a hotel in Washington, D.C.
That's what
right in the
said.
video. He says he's in Brooklyn.
Video.
So you were wrong. And my point is, anyone can make a mistake that can lead them down the wrong direction. I've been trying to be a moderator here. You've been talking over me and my guest.
Jake, I'm not going to sit here I'm
not
going to sit here.
Because guess what?
when
I'm hanging up on your ass. You better go find some evidence that I'm Mossad, Jake, because you've just insulted me, and I think you're anti-Semitic and you've been a jerk on this phone call. Goodbye, Jake. Fuck. Sorry for the foul language, folks. Been a rough day. John, I apologize. My true intention was to bring two people together that I respected, and Jake, you just acted like an asshole! John, do me a favor. I guess I hung up on John too. I would like to invite people to dig into this Saudi Arabia evidence. If in fact Prince Salman was not in Vegas, I agree. That puts some major holes in Mr. Cullen's theory.